I'm your host, DJ Mitchell, here today to go over the 5-game Friday slate. And I wore all black, have the Grim Reaper. We had a chance at maybe the funnest DraftKings slate of my memory. They gave us an absolutely massive GPP contest for Thursday night. It was a max entry of $24, $25K to first. We were to the moon and back, excited, and they pulled it on us. So if anyone from DraftKings is listening, moment of silence is for you. Very, very disappointed, but we're going to move forward and we're going to hope that maybe at some point they give us what we need, give us what we want. And hopefully the hockey community continues to grow so we can actually, deservingly so get these massive contests. I think that a lot of people would try to get this to get at least close to filling, if not full. 44,000 is a heavy amount of entries, but I was really hopeful that we could try to pull it off because I really love this community and I know a lot of people were excited about it. But we'll move forward. We have 5 games today. We have Edmonton at Buffalo to start it, so we'll just get right into it. No need to waste a lot of your time. Edmonton's going to be on a back-to-back. They did make the change. I mean, this is before the game was played against Boston when I'm recording this, but they were putting Hyman, Puljujärvi, and McDavid together instead of Draisaitl, who moved down with Yamamoto and RNH. So that definitely changes it up. They mentioned wanting to do that, especially on away games. So it wasn't a big surprise, but in recent events, they just put them back together. So I guess if you like Buffalo to be competitive here, you could consider still stacking McDavid and Draisaitl because they'll just revert to it when they need to if they're in a tight game. Both of them are incredibly expensive, over 9K for both of them on this slate, which is really tough because there's your Austin Matthews, there's Ovechkin and et cetera. It's going to be a really, really expensive slate with a lot of the top guys. A lot of guys, if you go to utility above a 9K, there's 4, which is a lot. So you're going to really have to pick and choose. The Edmonton side is going to be heavily favored here on the road in Buffalo on a back-to-back. I personally like to go to the team at home that isn't on a back-to-back. Buffalo's had a few days off. It's Edmonton though, and I don't like to bet against them. They're 9-2 going into the Boston game on Thursday night. They're really, really good. They can score goals in bunches. They can come back on anyone with McDavid and Draisaitl. I just think that this game sets up better for an under bet than anything else because at 6 over under right now, I just don't see it getting there. The Sabres have been on the course of the season really, really good at keeping Corsi against. I know as of late, they've been a lot worse, but if we go historically, instead of like going off this recent run on the West Coast where they got beaten up a little bit towards the end, they're 7th in the league in all strengths at, Corsi against per 60. So they're good at limiting teams. I think they're a better defensive team than people give them credit for. We could see Craig Anderson come back. We don't know for sure right now. I don't think it makes the biggest difference. He's been pretty good. Tokarski's been fine, but I think more so what I'm interested in here is probably fading this game in general in DFS, going with the under. That's, I think, the better bet overall. Just thinking that Edmonton has these top 2 lines that are going to shut down the Sabres, and then the bottom dwellers are just the bottom dwellers for both teams, and hoping that goalies show up. The Sabres and Capitals game, which I like the under on. I like the Sabres under 1 goal in the first period the most, which did end up hitting, thank God. That game didn't get the under because the goaltending was just terrible on both sides. So I think that we can expect a bit better of a game. Sabres well rested. They've made some changes. I don't know how much it really matters. They didn't skate with Olofsson or Anderson on Thursday, but Skinner, Thompson, Asplund being the top line without Olofsson, and then the rest are kind of yikes. Edmonton, like I already mentioned. So do with it what you will. Shot props are going to be somewhat in play, but I'm not overly bullish on any of them. I need to see it to believe it. If you get like McDavid at 3, maybe I might jump on that. Honestly, I don't think he sets up that much better to be the shot taker with Hyman than he was with Draisaitl. I think people will think Draisaitl is much better, but Hyman actually has a ton of shot attempts on the year with RNH. I think he's still going to be that trigger man. His goal prop was really, really, I thought, kind of wacky on Thursday, so I'm expecting that to be back again. We'll move forward to the Calgary at Toronto game. Toronto has just been impressive defensively. I don't think there's any other way to put it. They didn't have Tavares on Wednesday, I ended up fading them. That was a mistake. I played them on FanDuel, but on DraftKings, I just went with the full fade and played Carter Hart. Didn't quite work. We didn't get any information really on Toronto on Thursday. I kind of expect Tavares to play. It seemed like he was really, truly a game time decision, and they just held him out. I think he'll be back. Marner was really, really bad in his absence. Didn't quite get there. We saw Nick Ritchie on the first power play, which was interesting. I'm kind of, if you see me looking away, I'm trying to use my other monitor to look at what they did. So Ritchie played with Kerfoot and Marner, and then Ritchie was on the first power play. He had the assist there on the Nylander goal. He only saw 13 total minutes, not a lot of 5-on-5 time. I think that's to be expected. But, Matthews and Nylander are one of the premium stacks on this slate. I like the matchup here. Calgary is going to be on a back-to-back. I don't really know what Calgary is going to try to do against them. I kind of assume they'll put the backline line on Matthews as much as possible, which could open the door for Tavares if he does step back into the lineup at 6,900. We don't know right now, and I'm not going to, assume either way, but I think it's a fair play. And then, Matthews is extremely expensive. The shot props for him have been, I think, really, really strong to take all season long. He's hit most of them. And then Marner, I did have it 2.5, didn't quite get there for me, but I think especially if Tavares is back, he's back in play there. But yeah, Matthews at 9,200, it's a real steep price. I think it could be worthwhile here. Calgary's been really, really good, but on a back-to-back, I think some people might just shy away from Toronto, and I'm not going to be one of those people. So I do like Toronto in this game. Get back to the money line, and then that bet, minus 150 at home on a back-to-back Calgary team. Like, I know Calgary's been good, but I'm definitely in on that Toronto line. I think that's really, really strong. Over under at 5.5. I'm very, very hesitant to take either side because, like I said, Toronto's been a lot better defensively. Their goaltending's been strong. Campbell's been great. We don't know starting in net though. And if it's not Campbell, Mrazek's out, I don't trust anyone else. So if Campbell's in, that 5.5 under seems okay to me. If Campbell's out, take the over because I don't really trust anyone else. I mean, Campbell took a ton of shots on, had the shutout win against Philly. And if it's like Hutchinson or Wool or whatever, no, thank you. Calgary, it's the top line or bust. They really don't run a lot of the other guys. 22 minutes plus for all three, the Lindholm, Gaudreau, and the truck line. I think it's a great line. I think all the shot props are in play. I want to look a little bit more into it. I don't think that any of them are substantially better than the other at this point. I haven't really seen anything indicating like, well, this is the guy they're clearly trying to feed the puck. All of them have been boom or bust. The Chuck has had, the 7-6, 4-2-2 shot on goal games in a row here, kind of falling off a bit. But I don't think that's any indication of what they're trying to do. I think it's a lot more of just what's happening out there on the ice. I know that's not the best explanation, but it does seem like all of them are still getting their Corsi and they're still getting their chances. So I do think that whatever prop is the best line on whatever sites you're using is just the one to take. I don't think you need to overthink this one. And Toronto will give up some shots against. They've just been really, really good. If you look at the Hockey Viz map of Philly, they did amazing keeping those shots to the outside. So they're giving up attempts because teams are getting frustrated in shooting, but they're not giving up attempts. Toronto, this being in the high danger scoring chances. So I do think it sets up well for the shot props for Calgary. For any of those three players that I mentioned. And DraftKings wise, Calgary continues to be, I think, one of the better values on the slate. It might not be completely necessary here to play because I do like other spots a little bit better, and we're going to get to them. But I just don't see getting cute here. It's a 5-game slate, so like maybe you could like look at a guy like a Monahan or something and like pray as far as like a 3K center with some skill, but that's about all I'd look at there. So moving forward, we're going to get into Philadelphia at Carolina. There's actually a couple interesting pieces of news here, but we'll get started. Carolina at home, minus 185. I like the line. I think that Philly's been a little bit better than meets the eye. We already are confirmed that Carter Hart's starting, and he's been so good that I don't want to get overly bullish here. I personally think this game sets up to be a bit of a goalie battle. All the goalies for... Well, I mean, if it's is it going to be Anderson? We don't know. Ranta is probably not going to get back for Carolina, so I assume Freddie Anderson will be in, and he's just been freaking great. I mean, what a renaissance for this guy after the kind of super letdown he was in Toronto. The guy's almost a 940 save percentage right now. And I know that has a lot to do with the skill that he's playing with, but I just don't really see a need to get crazy here. He's only had, I believe, one game, 2 games with over 30 shot attempts like that have reached him, which is just awesome. One with 30, but two with over 30. And that's really, really good for a guy that's played in 10 games. So they've been really good at limiting chances and keeping players to the outside. Pesci is a question mark. Again, he's a great defender, though. So if he's back, it hurts Philly even more. I think Philly will try to do what they did against Toronto, just hopefully get some success shooting the puck. So, I think Anderson could be in play as a GPP goalie at home. Like I kind of am alluding to, though, I think the under could be in play here. On top of all of this, Carolina made some changes to their lineup. And I don't know if I love it as far as like maybe they're thinking this would be better for winning, but doesn't help you in GPP much, or like, playing on DraftKings, etc. They moved Jarvis with Aho and Svechnikov, which could give you a really nice punt in a guy like Seth Jarvis, who is a first round pick, a guy they're super high on. And I mean, this is a guy that like they seemingly did not want to move in a Jack Eichel trade, so pretty big praise for this guy. He's only seen a maximum of 15 minutes of ice time. Last game he only had 12. Shot attempts have been great. He's minimum salary on DraftKings, so he could be a really good way to get a punt in if you're trying to get McDavid's and Matthews and Ovechkin. So it makes some sense. The second line, Teravainen and Trocheck and Kotkaniemi, but this is the one I think is like more of your kind of supreme value. So for starters, pull up utility here. The highest priced player is Trocheck at 5,100. Nachos missed practice, so this could change because he was ill, not COVID related. I don't know what that means, so he could come back and that could throw all of this out of whack. But let's go with what we have right now, and tomorrow just keep an eye out. If Nachos is back, then we'll see. But there was really no news other than he was sick. And so anyways, though, this Carolina line, Teravainen is 56, Trocheck is 51, and then Kotkaniemi is 3K. So it's a really good value line with a lot of correlation, and some of it could find itself together on the power play, I believe. So we'll see what happens there. If Nachos is in, that could throw this whole thing out of whack. The Flyers put Lindbaum with Brassard and Atkinson, and then Farabee with Leighton and Van Riemsdyk, which is interesting to me because it does, again, give some value to that third unit with Farabee and Van Riemsdyk, two guys that see enough minutes, in my opinion, and enough power play time to get the job done. Yandel is going to get moved back to the first power play unit, so Provorov would be maybe the guy to pair with them. Yandel actually saw 21 minutes, so if you think Philly might be down, Yandel could be a supreme value on the slate. First power play, so especially if you're playing that Flyers one, which really burned me on Wednesday. Yandel fits in really, really nice with it. He got a big increase in minutes. He had 3 shots, 2 blocks, no points. But if he does end up getting involved with an assist at 3,700, he'll pay off. As far as props are concerned, I think Philly 1 props have always been right there for you. I think Svechnikov might even get a little bit of a boost if Teravainen's not on his line as far as his shots on goal attempts. And then, Aho just hasn't shot enough for me to want to sink my teeth into as far as a play on any of the sports books. But I think the overall best bet here might just be the under. 5.5 is fine. I really do think you might end up finding it at 6 in some sites, and that's what I'd really jump in on. Then Carolina at home, I'm just not going to bet against them. Fourth game, Washington at Columbus. Columbus will be retiring Rick Nash's 61 in the rafters. They haven't played in a while. I was like, man, when was the last time they played? They haven't played since the 6th of November. So they've had a whole lot of time off, and they return to the ice with pretty similar units. Let me pull them back up again. They look pretty similar. So I think first and foremost, Bean and Morensky have been, I think, pretty decent DFS assets that have been probably underutilized. I know Bean has had some pretty big games here or there, but he's getting a ton of run and a ton of power play time. It just kind of sets up really nicely here at 2,700. Do I think be an unlock key to get some of those key pieces in? He's had more blocks than I've ever seen before the break that they had. He had that 2-goal, 3-shot, 3-block night, and this guy has that kind of upside at 2,700. I think, if you're trying to punt, if you're playing cash games, etc., he's a really, really good option. And Werenski at 57. I'm probably not going to be stacking a lot of Columbus, but Washington's super banged up. And I think Columbus has been one of the better surprise teams on the whole year. So I don't really see a need to, completely galaxy brain this one and take Columbus out of your set entirely. So with all that being said, at plus 120 at home, I don't hate it with all that's going on, all that break they've had. Washington's played a bunch lately and they're banged up. They have to shut down that first line. But after that first line in Washington, I mean, they're rolling out Sprong and Sheary way more than teams should be. So I don't really think Columbus is, worthy of the plus money at home. Vegas is not really respecting what they've done so far this year. They're 7-3, right? I mean, I know they're not 7-3, but that's their record, and the goaltending's been fantastic there. So I don't see a need to completely diminish that kind of upside, even though Washington's also been just fine. So the value on this slate in Columbus really gets even more absurd because they don't have a single player except for Bjorkstrand over 4.8K. They're just super duper duper cheap. Jenner, Bjorkstrand, and Nyquist probably make the most sense as like the line one, if you will. They played the most minutes. They don't correlate perfectly on the power play. Nyquist isn't on the same unit as Jenner and Bjorkstrand, but that's okay with me. I mean, I think you can still find something that you like. If you do want to go the Bean route, he pairs nicely with Chinnikov. I'm sure I'm not saying his name right. He was playing with Sillinger and Voracek. But those two are like two guys that are basically free, and they just probably shouldn't be. So this Yegor Chinnikov, he played 16 minutes last game. He had 2 assists and 2 shots on net. Before that, he played only 9 minutes and had 3 shots on net. He just seems like a guy that's profiling and already did profile to be a decent to good rate shooter. And he's playing with 2 guys that don't like to shoot that much in Sillinger and Voracek. So he really could be another super value on this slate, and he pairs well with Bean. So if you're playing McDavid and Draisaitl and those guys, you're going to have to find the value. This is where you're going to find it. I know this is a little bit more DraftKings breakdown than you might want, but if you are playing the slate, I think this is a really good note to have. Bjorkstrand's been the best rate shooter on the team. I don't think that's much of a surprise. And with Washington, I mean, it's the Ovi show right now. I mean, he just continues to dominate every single time out, and there's really no reason to expect anything else. John Carlson shot prop still in play. Over under, flip a coin, pick the side. I think it's very, very right there for them. Washington's goaltending could be, could spring a leak, and if they keep pace with Ovi, you get that over, which I think the over is a little bit. I'll favor it a little bit, 5.5. Last but not least, we have Arizona at Chicago. Arizona has been absolutely terrible. I mean, they're going real historically bad. I think that they might end up becoming one of the worst teams ever in recorded history, and it does feel somewhat on purpose. They have been rolling out Jay Beagle as like a first line guy as far as his time on ice at 5-on-5. Johan Larson playing 18 minutes. It's a really bad team. I have no interest in their side on DraftKings, even though it's cheap, because I just told you I like Columbus here. I have no problem playing them. So I'm not going to galaxy brain this one, even in a seemingly good matchup against Chicago. If you were to try to convince me to play Phil Kessel, held a gun to my head, I might even put it in a don't completely block Arizona out scenario. At 3,600, he's playing enough minutes and has enough historical rate stats that I'm not opposed. But I would much rather just not touch this with a 10-foot pole and move on. I think Chicago has some upside. They're going to be probably not overlooked, but they might not quite garner the ownership that I think they may deserve. They beat Pittsburgh. I mean, I think that was a really great game. And when they did that, the total minutes for DeBrincat was 27, Kane 26, Doc 26. Now they did go to overtime in a shootout to win the game, but holy freaking crap, right? This team is trying to claw their way back to life. Seth Jones looked good. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. I know that I've been basically, by saying that Seth Jones isn't the worst player in the world, I think I'm his biggest fanboy at this point. So yeah, I think that stack is incredibly in play. Doc was not on the first unit, but they don't take the first unit off, it looks like. So the entire power play run that they had, DeBrincat, Kane, and Taves stayed on for the entire time. And then Doc also mixed in with them. And yeah, I think it's fine. I think it's totally justifiable to play these guys because Chicago is going to do everything they can to win this game. And for that reason, I have them as like, I'd say a lock of the night to win at minus 190. It's very parlayable with other stuff if you just want to throw it in the mix. I even would take the puck line on them, to be quite frank. Arizona's that bad. They give up so much Corsi against. They have absolutely nothing on offense to ride home, and they're terrible. I mean, they're just terrible. Wedgwood in his first game, which I think he'll probably be the starter, was at least serviceable. But yeah, no thanks. I'll see myself out on playing Arizona goalies for sure for the entire season. You will not catch me playing them. So yeah, I think that about sums it up. You can, with all that being said, I guess the shot props. I mean, DeBrincat's in play, Kane's in play, Doc might even be in play if you find it for positive enough money. I think those all are really strong bets. I mean, DeBrincat at 8 against Pittsburgh. I think he's in due for over 2.5 for freaking sure. He's historically been great. He's going to get all of the run that they need to win this game. I don't think there's anything else really to touch on here. So I'm going to get you guys out of here. I probably went way too long for a 5-game slate. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. To DraftKings, if you're listening, give us a chance. The hockey community deserves a chance. Okay, give us one time where you give us that big contest. We have so many people clamoring for a $4, a $5 entry that actually has some stakes to it. Give us a chance. And everyone listening, if you aren't playing on the DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever, that's fine. If you're just betting on the games, that's totally great. Let me know though if there's anything in the comments. Let me know online. I'm always on Twitter. I interact with anyone that wants to reach out to me. Let me know what you want to hear. If there's something I'm missing, there's something I'm not touching on enough, I will talk more on it. Check out the Hockey Assist Network as well. I've been doing more videos over there. I will talk about more stats and get more in depth with you, but I don't want to bore anyone to tears. So let me know if you like that. Thank you again for listening. Rate, subscribe, review. Go Sabres. They're going to lose, but go Sabres. And have a good night.